The Council's mockery. The grand chamber of the Galactic Assembly floated in the void between stars, a massive station built by 100 civilizations over 1,000 years. Inside its central hall, representatives from across known space gathered in emergency session. The curved walls displayed star maps showing a growing red zone that spread like infection through the outer territories. The Assembly gathers Commander Jackson. Harper stood in the human delegation's modest viewing platform, watching the chaos unfold below. He was a weathered man in his 50s, with gray streaking his dark hair and deep lines around his eyes that spoke of decades spent staring into the black. His dress uniform was simple compared to the elaborate garments worn by other delegates, dark blue with silver insignia, practical and clean. Below, the assembly floor erupted with dozens of voices speaking at once. The translators built into every platform worked overtime, converting the cacophony into something resembling order. Harper listened carefully, his face betraying nothing. High Chancellor Vrax of the Convergence called the session to order. The tall, crystalline being's voice resonated through the chamber like wind chimes. Delegates, we face an unprecedented crisis. 3 outer colonies have gone silent in the past lunar cycle. Our survey ships found nothing but debris and electromagnetic signatures we cannot identify. Advanced powers display. Their Might Admiral Kethvar of the Vryn Dominion rose from his platform, his segmented exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. The Vryn were known throughout the galaxy as master shipwrights, their vessels works of art as much as instruments of war. The Dominion offers its 7th fleet to investigate and neutralize this threat. Our ships carry pulse-wave cannons capable of destabilizing molecular bonds. Our shields can deflect stellar radiation. Whatever this enemy may be, they will find the Vryn ready. Holographic displays showed the Vryn fleet, sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls, covered in glowing patterns that pulsed with contained energy. Each ship looked organic, grown rather than built, with weapons integrated seamlessly into their flowing designs. The Zeltharan Collective's representative, a being of pure energy contained in a magnetic bottle, crackled with enthusiasm. The collective pledges 12 dreadnoughts equipped with quantum disintegration arrays. Our weapons operate at the subatomic level, tearing apart the very fabric of matter. No armor can withstand such assault. One by one, the great powers of the galaxy offered their forces. The Mechanis sovereignty promised automated warships with artificial intelligence that could calculate 1 million battle scenarios per second. The Luminar Alliance brought ships powered by captured stars, their weapons firing concentrated solar plasma. The Phantom Syndicate offered vessels that could phase between dimensions, appearing and disappearing at will. Earth's Turn Harper watched it all with the patience of a career officer who had seen many briefings. He knew what was coming. The displays cycled through images of magnificent alien warships, each more impressive than the last. Then High Chancellor Vrax's gaze fell upon the human platform. Commander Harper, Earth has been silent during these proceedings. What forces can humanity contribute to our defense? The chamber fell quiet. Harper could feel hundreds of alien eyes upon him, some curious, most dismissive. He activated his own display with a simple gesture. The hologram showed the Earth Defense Fleet currently stationed at the solar barrier, humanity's defensive perimeter. 15 ships hung in formation, angular, blocky vessels that looked like they had been assembled in a shipyard, rather than grown or manifested. Their hulls were dark gray metal, scarred and patched from years of service. Gun turrets protruded at regular intervals, and massive engines jutted from their rear sections with none of the elegant integration seen in alien designs. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before the laughter began. The mockery begins, Admiral. Kethvar's translator couldn't quite capture his tone, but the contempt was clear. Commander, are those actual warships or cargo haulers? They appear to be constructed of simple metal alloys. Do humans still use such primitive materials? More laughter rippled through the chamber. Harper kept his expression neutral, though his jaw tightened slightly. He had expected this. A delegate from the Etherian commune, a floating jellyfish-like being, pulsed with colors that the translator rendered as amusement. Forgive my curiosity, but those weapons appear to be kinetic projectile systems. Do humans still use ballistic weapons? We abandoned such technology 3,000 years ago. Indeed, added the Mechanis representative, its mechanical voice flat and analytical. My scans indicate those vessels rely on chemical propulsion and nuclear fusion reactors. The largest vessel registers at only 1,200 meters in length. By comparison, our smallest frigate exceeds 2,000 meters and carries enough firepower to crack a moon. Harper waited for the laughter to die down. When he spoke, his voice was calm and professional. The Earth Defense Fleet consists of 15 capital ships, 42 support vessels, and 36 fighter squadrons. Our vessels are built for endurance and reliability. They may not be as advanced as yours, but they have defended human space successfully for 2 centuries. The insults continue. Admiral Kethvar magnified the image of Harper's flagship, the UES Thunderchild. The vessel was a massive rectangle of titanium ceramic composite armor, bristling with railgun turrets and missile tubes. Repair patches dotted its hull where previous battles had left their marks. The Thunderchild, Kethvar read from his display, his tone dripping with false politeness. Construction date 73 years ago. Primary armament, electromagnetic accelerator cannons. Defensive systems, layered metal armor plating. Commander Harper, this vessel belongs in a museum, not a battle group. The Vryn admiral turned to address the full assembly. I mean no disrespect to humanity, but we cannot allow outdated vessels to interfere with modern warfare. These ships would be destroyed in seconds against any competent enemy. Their primitive weapons cannot penetrate modern shielding. Their metal hulls cannot withstand directed energy weapons. The human fleet should remain in their home system, suggested the Luminar delegate, a being that resembled living flame. We appreciate their offer, but this battle requires sophisticated technology. Kinetic weapons and metal armor are relics of a barbaric age. Harper's hands gripped the railing of his platform, knuckles whitening slightly, but when he spoke, his voice remained level. With respect, delegates, the Earth Defense Fleet has successfully defended against raiders, pirates, and 3 separate invasion attempts over the past century. Our vessels may be simple, but they are effective. Assigned to the rear, the Zeltharan representative crackled with what might have been sympathy. Commander, no one questions human courage. Your species is known for determination, if not technological sophistication. However, this enemy destroyed 3 fortified colonies. We cannot risk your crews and vessels that cannot adequately protect them. High Chancellor Vrax raised a crystalline appendage for silence. A compromise. The human fleet will hold the solar barrier sector, providing a defensive position for civilian evacuations should our main force encounter difficulties. This allows humanity to contribute while minimizing risk to their outdated vessels. Harper knew a dismissal when he heard one. The solar barrier was the rear defensive line, the position given to forces you expected to do nothing. It was a polite way of telling humanity to stay out of the way, while the real powers handled the threat. The Earth Defense Fleet accepts the solar barrier assignment, Harper said quietly. We will hold that position and provide support as needed. Kethvar's translator rendered something that might have been a chuckle. Excellent. Do try to keep your ships functional, Commander. We may need them to carry supplies once this is over. More laughter. Harper cut his display and stepped back from the railing. Around him, other human officers stood in tight-lipped silence. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, his communications officer, leaned close. Sir, they're treating us like children with toy boats. Let them, Harper replied softly. Words don't win battles. When the shooting starts, we'll show them what Earthsteel can do. The fleets deploy over the next 6 hours. The great armada of the Galactic Assembly gathered. It was the largest combined fleet in recorded history. Over 300 capital ships and 1,000 support vessels. The alien warships formed up in precise formations, their shields creating overlapping fields of protective energy. Their hulls glowed with power signatures that could be detected from several star systems away. The Vryn dreadnoughts took the center position, massive vessels that looked like deep-sea creatures made of metal and light. The Zeltharan ships floated nearby, crackling with barely contained energy. Mechanus automated warships moved with mechanical precision, while the Luminar vessels burned like tiny suns. Harper watched from the Thunderchild's bridge as the alien fleet departed in a flash of exotic, faster-than-light drives. One moment they filled the view screens, the next they were gone, leaving only fading energy signatures. Impressive display, commented Major Eric Torres, Harper's executive officer. The big man stood with arms crossed, his scarred face neutral. Think they'll need us? Harper studied the tactical display showing the Earth Defense Fleet moving toward the solar barrier position. They're about to encounter something that destroyed 3 fortified colonies. Yes, Eric, they'll need us. They just don't know it yet. Human preparations. The Earth Defense Fleet arrived at the solar barrier 12 hours later, taking up defensive positions around the outer planets of human space. The 15 capital ships spread out in a formation that looked random to untrained eyes, but had been refined through centuries of human warfare. On the Thunderchild's bridge, Harper walked among his crew stations. Unlike the automated systems on alien vessels, every station was manned by trained personnel. Redundant controls lined the walls. Backup systems had backups. The bridge smelled of oil, metal, and recycled air, nothing like the sterile perfection of alien command centers. "Status report," Harper ordered. "All ships in position," Lieutenant Chen reported from her communications station. "Railguns loaded and charged. Missile tubes armed. Point defense systems active. Engineering reports all reactors operating at optimal levels. Fighter squadrons have completed pre-flight checks," added Commander James Webb from the tactical station. "Pilots are ready for deployment on your order." Harper nodded and touched the intercom control. "All hands, this is the commander. I know what the other races think of us. They see old ships with simple weapons. They think we're obsolete, that our time has passed. Maybe they're right about our technology, but they're wrong about us." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Humanity has been fighting wars since we learned to pick up sticks and stones. We've survived everything from stone axes to nuclear fire. Our ships might be simple, but they're built by people who understand what war really means. They're built to take damage and keep fighting. They're built by a species that never learned how to quit." The first contact 6 hours into their watch, the long-range sensors registered something at the edge of detection range. Lieutenant Chen's board lit up with warnings. "Commander, I'm picking up massive energy signatures bearing 270 Mark 15. It's the alien fleet, sir. They're engaging something." Harper moved to stand behind the sensor station. "Put it on the main display. Full spectrum analysis." The view screen filled with data. The beautiful alien formations had broken apart into chaos. Energy weapons fired in all directions, creating a light show visible across several astronomical units. But the return fire was different. Coherent beams of energy that seemed to absorb light rather than emit it. "Sir, the alien fleet is taking heavy casualties," Webb reported, his voice tense. "I'm showing multiple ships going dark. Their shields aren't stopping those weapons. Whatever they're fighting, it's cutting through their defenses like they're not even there." Harper watched as a Vryn dreadnought, one of those magnificent vessels that had mocked his fleet, broke apart under sustained fire. The explosion was visible even at this distance, a brief flash that represented hundreds of lives ending. "Getting identification on the enemy," Chen said, her fingers flying across her console. "Computer designates them as unknown machine entities. They're adapting to alien weapons in real time. Each energy blast that hits their shields makes the shields stronger against that frequency." "Adaptive defense," Torres muttered. "Energy weapons make them stronger. That's bad news for our friends out there." Another alien ship died, then another. The distress calls began flooding in on emergency frequencies. Admiral Kethavar's voice, so confident and mocking hours ago, now carried an edge of desperation. "All vessels concentrate fire on the central mass. Quantum disintegration to maximum yield." Harper watched the alien fleet unleash everything they had. The space between stars lit up like a newborn sun as hundreds of energy weapons fired simultaneously. When the light faded, the enemy machines were still there, their shields now glowing with absorbed energy. "They're losing," Webb said quietly. "Sir, the Galactic Assembly fleet is being destroyed." The call comes. The emergency transmission came directly from High Chancellor Vrax. The crystalline being's image appeared on the main screen, cracks visible in their previously perfect form. "Commander Harper, we require immediate assistance. Our weapons are ineffective against this enemy. They adapt to every frequency, every energy signature. We have lost 40% of our fleet in the past hour." Harper kept his expression neutral, though his heart was pounding. "What are your orders, Chancellor?" "Can your vessels reach our position?" "Yes, sir. We can be there in 90 minutes at maximum burn." There was a pause. In the background, Harper could see the chaos of the alien command center. Delegates shouting, displays showing ship after ship going offline. Finally, Vrax spoke again. "Commander, I apologize for the Assembly's treatment of your fleet. We were arrogant and foolish. But regardless of our past disrespect, we need help. Will humanity come?" Harper looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were ready. They had always been ready, He turned back to the screen. Chancellor, the Earth Defense Fleet is already moving to your position. We'll be there soon. He paused, then added, and Chancellor, they might not be afraid of energy weapons, but let's see how they handle good old-fashioned kinetic impact. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. All ships, Battle Protocol Sierra 7. Maximum acceleration to the engagement zone. Engineering. I want every reactor pushed to the red line. Weapons, prep every gun, every missile, every round we have. Fighter squadrons, prepare for combat launch. He gripped the arms of his command chair as the Thunderchild's engines roared to full power. Around him, the crew worked with practiced efficiency, preparing for battle. Lieutenant Chen sent a message to all human vessels. Use the old code, Harper smiled grimly. Tell them thunder rolls and steel remembers. It's time to show these machines what happens when you fight humanity. The Earth Defense Fleet surged forward, 15 blocky warships accelerating toward a battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Behind them, Admiral Kethvar's mocking laughter still echoed in Harper's memory. Soon, Harper thought, they would see what primitive really meant. Thunder of old Earth, the void between stars, had never seemed so empty or so full. Empty of hope for the Galactic Assembly Fleet, which scattered like frightened fish before an apex predator. Full of death, as the machine entities known only as the Devourers tore through sophisticated alien defenses with brutal efficiency. The approach commander Jackson Harper stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, watching the tactical display with the calm focus of a man who had spent his entire adult life preparing for this moment. The holographic projection showed the battle ahead in real time. Red icons representing destroyed alien vessels, blue icons showing survivors trying desperately to regroup, and black icons marking the enemy. 70 minutes to engagement range, announced Commander Webb from Tactical. Enemy count is 48 large capital vessels, approximately 200 smaller craft. They're maintaining formation even while pursuing scattered alien forces. Organized, Harper observed. They're not just killing, they're hunting with purpose. That suggests intelligence and strategy, not just programmed responses. Lieutenant Chen looked up from her communication station, her young face pale but determined. Sir, we're receiving distress signals from 17 different ships. The Vryn flagship is requesting emergency evacuation. Admiral Kethvar is wounded. Note their positions, Harper replied. We'll extract survivors when we can. But first we need to give them a reason to survive. Status of our fleet? Major Torres pulled up the formation display. The 15 Earth capital ships had spread into an attack pattern that would have looked chaotic to alien tactical officers. But Harper saw the centuries of human naval doctrine, overlapping fields of fire, mutual support positions, and redundant coverage that meant the destruction of any single ship would not create a fatal gap. All vessels report ready for combat, Torres said. The Santiago and the Moscow are taking point positions. The Wellington and the Bismarck are covering our flanks. Fighter squadrons are armed and ready for launch on your command. Harper nodded. 40 years of military experience had taught him that battles were won before the first shot was fired, in the preparation and positioning that most people never saw. Signal all ships. Maintain current formation until we reach firing range. Weapons free at 20,000 kilometers. Make every shot count. We won't get a second chance to surprise them. First blood, the Devourers detected the approaching human fleet when it was still 30 minutes out. On the main view screen, Harper watched the enemy vessels pause in their pursuit of alien survivors. Several of the machine ships turned to face the newcomers. They've seen us, Webb reported. Enemy vessels are... Sir, they're scanning us. I'm reading active sensor sweeps across all frequencies. Let them look, Harper said quietly. Chen, any response from the enemy? Negative, sir. No communication attempts. They're just analyzing us, Harper understood. The Devourers were studying this new threat, categorizing weapons and defenses, preparing adaptive responses. They had fought energy-wielding aliens for hours now, learning and evolving with each encounter. What they saw approaching were primitive vessels with simple metal hulls and no energy shields. The enemy decided humanity was not a priority threat. Sir, the main enemy force is continuing to pursue the alien fleet, Webb confirmed. Only 8 of their vessels are moving to intercept us. The rest are ignoring us completely. Torres let out a sharp laugh. They think we're not worth their full attention. They're about to learn a very painful lesson. 15 minutes to effective range, Webb counted down. Enemy vessels are spreading into intercept formation. They're not even raising shields. Harper watched the enemy ships approach. Each was roughly the same size as a human capital ship, but their construction was utterly alien. Geometric assemblies of dark metal and energy conduits that seemed to fold in on themselves in ways that hurt to look at directly. They moved with mechanical precision, no wasted motion, every maneuver calculated and efficient. All ships, weapons free in 30 seconds, Harper announced calmly. Target priority, engines first, then power cores. We're not here to trade energy blasts. We're here to break things. Webb, you have firing control. Aye, sir. Targeting solutions locked. Main railguns charging. Missile tubes are hot. The seconds ticked down. On the view screen, the enemy vessels continued their approach, confident in their adaptive shields that had defeated every alien weapon encountered so far. Harper could almost sense their machine calculations. These primitive kinetic weapons would be even easier to defend against than sophisticated energy beams. They were about to discover why humanity had never abandoned ballistic weapons. Fire, Harper said. The thunder rolls. The UES Thunderchild shuddered as its main railguns fired. 8 massive tungsten slugs, each weighing 3 tons, accelerated down electromagnetic rails to a significant fraction of light speed. The ship's entire power grid momentarily dimmed as the capacitors discharged their stored energy in a single devastating salvo. Across the human fleet, 14 more capital ships fired their primary weapons simultaneously. 120 railgun rounds crossed the intervening space in less than 3 seconds, moving too fast for conventional evasion. The Devourer vessels activated their adaptive shields, energy fields that had learned to deflect or absorb every type of energy weapon the galaxy possessed. They were designed to analyze incoming attacks and modify their frequency, density, and composition to provide optimal defense. They had never encountered a 3-ton piece of metal traveling at relativistic velocity. The first Devourer ship exploded as 12 railgun slugs punched through its adaptive shields like they didn't exist. The shields were designed to stop energy, to absorb and redirect electromagnetic radiation. They could do nothing against solid matter moving with enough kinetic energy to vaporize anything it touched. The tungsten rounds tore through the enemy vessel's hull, their passage creating catastrophic pressure waves that ripped the ship apart from the inside. Secondary explosions bloomed as power cores ruptured and fuel reserves ignited. The Devourer vessel broke into 3 large pieces and a cloud of debris. Direct hit, Webb reported with savage satisfaction. Target 1 is destroyed. Target 2 is critically damaged. Target 3 took glancing hits, assessing damage. Harper watched as the second enemy ship began to tumble, atmosphere venting from multiple hull breaches. It was still intact, but clearly out of the fight. The third ship had been clipped by 2 rounds that tore away external structures but missed vital systems. They're adapting, Chen warned. Remaining enemy vessels are spreading out, changing vectors. They're trying to make themselves harder targets. Then we'll make it harder to dodge, Harper replied. All ships, launch missiles. Full spread, mixed warheads. Let's see how they handle a few thousand incoming projectiles. The human fleet opened its missile tubes. Hundreds of rockets streaked away from the capital ships, their trails marking brilliant lines across the darkness. Unlike sophisticated, alien missiles that relied on guidance systems and energy propulsion, human missiles were simple and brutal. Solid fuel rockets carrying nuclear, antimatter, and conventional high-explosive warheads. The remaining 5 Devourer ships tried to evade, their engines burning at maximum as they calculated interception angles and optimal defensive fire. Their point defense systems began shooting down missiles, scoring dozens of kills, but there were too many targets. The human doctrine was simple. If 1 missile could be shot down, launch 100. If 100 wasn't enough, launch 1,000. Nuclear fire blossomed against the hulls of 3 Devourer vessels. The explosions in vacuum were brief but devastating, releasing electromagnetic pulses that scrambled systems and heat that warped armor. 1 ship survived its nuclear baptism but flew directly into a spread of antimatter warheads. The matter-antimatter annihilation was spectacular. For a brief instant, a miniature star formed in the depths of space as the Devourer vessel simply ceased to exist, converted into pure energy along with the surrounding area. The main battle enemy forward group is destroyed, Torres reported. But sir, the main Devourer fleet is responding. They're turning to face us. Harper had known this moment would come. The enemy's attention had been caught. 40 capital ships and 200 support craft were abandoning their pursuit of the alien fleet, reforming into attack formations directed at the human vessels. Signal the Galactic Assembly forces, Harper ordered. Tell them to regroup and reform their lines. We're about to get busy, and we'll need covering fire. The tactical display showed the Devourer fleet accelerating toward the human positions. Unlike the scattered formations of the panicked alien fleet, the human ships held their ground in tight defensive clusters. Contact in 90 seconds, Webb announced. Sir, they're not adapting their shields against kinetic weapons. They're reinforcing their hulls instead. I'm reading massive power transfers to structural integrity fields. Smart machines, Harper muttered. Torres, load specialized rounds, armor-piercing deep penetration. If they want to play hardball, we'll accommodate them. The Thunderchild's magazines rotated, bringing up a different class of ammunition. These rounds were longer, narrower, designed to punch through heavy armor before detonating shaped charges inside the target. They had been developed during the Mars colony wars when human forces fought each other across the red planet's surface. The Devourer fleet opened fire at extreme range. Their weapons were different from the elegant energy beams of the Galactic Assembly. These were coherent streams of destructive force that seemed to consume light itself, leaving trails of absolute darkness across space. The first salvo hit the UES Santiago, one of the forward picket ships. The dark energy beams struck the ship's armored hull with devastating force. Armor plating vaporized. Internal structures melted. The Santiago's crew died in seconds as the beam carved through their vessel from bow to stern. But the Santiago didn't explode. Didn't break apart into pieces. The ship's internal bulkheads, designed to survive catastrophic damage, held. The reactor didn't breach, and as the enemy beam cut through the dying vessel, it kept firing its weapons. Santiago is hit, Chen reported, her voice breaking slightly. Life signs are negative. Ship is dead in space. But sir, she fired her last salvo before going dark. 3 direct hits on enemy targets. Harper's jaw clenched. 200 souls aboard the Santiago, gone in an instant. But they had gone down fighting, following the first rule of human naval warfare. If you're going to die, take the enemy with you. All ships, evasive patterns, Harper commanded. Don't make it easy for them. Maintain firing solutions and keep shooting. Make every round count for Santiago's crew. The human fleet began to move in ways that confused the Devourer targeting systems. Rather than the elegant curves and calculated vectors of alien vessels, human ships jinked and weaved with unpredictable bursts from maneuvering thrusters. They flew like drunk pilots, erratic and wild. It was chaos by design. Humanity had learned long ago that predictability in combat was death. Better to fly in patterns that looked insane than to make it easy for the enemy to calculate your next position. Steel and fire. The space around the solar barrier became a killing field. The Devourer fleet, larger and more powerful, pressed forward with mechanical determination. The human fleet, smaller but more flexible, fought like cornered wolves, all teeth and fury. The UES Moscow took 3 direct hits but kept fighting. Her crew routing power around destroyed sections, firing weapons from turrets that should have been offline. The Wellington lost her engines but continued to pour railgun fire into passing enemy vessels, using her maneuvering thrusters to adjust aim. Harper watched it all from the Thunderchild's bridge, calling orders and coordinating the defense. Sweat ran down his face despite the environmental controls. His uniform collar was soaked, but his hands were steady on the controls. Bismarck is reporting critical damage, Chen called out. They've lost main power and are running on backups. Captain Volkov says they can still fight. Tell Volkov to fall back to secondary positions, Harper ordered. Wellington will cover her withdrawal. Torres, bring us about. I want firing solutions. On that formation of enemy cruisers coming up on our port side. The Thunderchild rotated on its axis, point defense systems shooting down incoming fire while the main guns tracked new targets. The ship shuddered as enemy beams scored hits against the armored hull. Damage reports flooded in. Starboard magazine damaged, dorsal sensor array destroyed, casualties in Deck 7. But the ship kept fighting. Solution locked, Webb reported. Firing, The railgun spoke again, and another Devourer vessel learned that armor meant nothing against enough kinetic energy. The enemy ship folded in on itself as the tungsten rounds created a pressure wave that collapsed internal structures like an aluminum can in a hydraulic press. Reinforcements arrive. Commander, the Galactic Assembly Fleet is reforming, Chen announced. They're moving to support our position. Admiral Kethavar is requesting coordination. On the view screen, Harper saw the surviving alien vessels pulling themselves together. They had watched human ships take devastating damage and continue fighting. They had seen simple kinetic weapons tear through defenses that their sophisticated energy beams couldn't scratch. The alien fleet moved into position, their energy weapons providing covering fire while human ships delivered killing blows at close range. It was an imperfect coordination, hastily arranged, but it worked. A Vryn dreadnought's pulse cannons disabled a Devourer cruiser's engines. The UES Thunderchild finished it with a spread of armor-piercing rounds. Zelther and quantum disintegrators scrambled a enemy vessel's guidance systems. The Moscow's missiles found the confused ship and ended it. The battle evolved into something neither side had expected: cooperation between the elegant and the brutal, between those who had mocked Earth's fleet and those who had built it. The final push. Harper saw it on the tactical display. The Devourer command vessel, larger than the others, positioned at the center of their formation. It was directing the battle with cold efficiency, coordinating attacks and analyzing human tactics. That's the brain, Harper said quietly. We take that out, the rest will lose coordination. Torres, plot an intercept course. Maximum burn. Torres looked up sharply. Sir, that will take us directly through their formation. The Thunderchild won't survive that approach. I know, Harper said calmly, but we don't need to survive. We just need to reach it. Chen, send a message to the fleet. Wellington has command if we don't make it back. Then open a channel to Admiral Kethavar. The Vryn Admiral's image appeared on the screen. His exoskeleton was cracked and scorched, but his eyes were clear. Commander Harper, what do you need? I need your fleet to concentrate all fire on the enemy formation directly ahead of my position. Everything you've got, Admiral. I'm going to ram their command ship, and I need you to make sure nothing stops me before I get there. Kethavar's expression changed. Surprise, then understanding, then something that might have been respect. Commander, that's suicide. It's war, Harper replied. Will you cover me? There was no hesitation. The Vryn Dominion will cover your approach, Commander Harper. It has been an honor to fight beside you. Harper cut the channel and turned to his crew. They all knew what was coming. No one protested. No one asked to be transferred. They simply returned to their stations and prepared to do their duty. All ahead full, Harper ordered. Angle us for a bow-on approach. Route all available power to forward shields and structural integrity fields. I want maximum impact velocity. The Thunderchild surged forward, her engines pushing the massive vessel to speeds that made her hull groan with stress. Around her, the Galactic Assembly Fleet opened fire with everything they had, creating a corridor of death through the enemy formation. Devourer vessels exploded or scattered as alien energy weapons overwhelmed their shields. The path ahead cleared slightly, but not enough. Enemy ships moved to intercept, their dark energy beams carving toward the charging human flagship. The Thunderchild took hit after hit. Armor vaporized, sections decompressed. Crew members died at their stations, but the ship kept accelerating, kept pushing forward, driven by engines that refused to fail and a crew that refused to quit. 15 seconds to impact, Webb reported, his voice eerily calm. Forward sections are gone. Bridge will be next. It's been an honor, sir. The honor was mine, Harper replied. He gripped his command chair as the Thunderchild crossed the final distance. On the view screen, the Devourer command vessel grew larger, filling the entire display. Then the world became light and sound and fury. Aftermath. The UES Thunderchild struck the Devourer command vessel at maximum velocity. 300,000 tons of human engineering driven by pure determination. The impact released energy equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. Both ships ceased to exist as recognizable vessels transformed into expanding clouds of superheated debris. But the explosion had done more than destroy two ships. The Devourer fleet, suddenly without its coordinating intelligence, faltered. Attack patterns became confused. Ships began firing on each other by mistake. The human fleet and their alien allies pressed the advantage. Working together, They systematically destroyed the confused enemy vessels over the next 4 hours. By the time the last Devourer ship was eliminated, the immediate threat was ended. The cost had been terrible. Earth had lost 6 capital ships, including the Thunderchild. Thousands of human personnel were dead or wounded. The Galactic Assembly had lost 60% of their fleet, but they had won. New understanding. 1 week later, the Galactic Assembly reconvened an emergency session. This time, the human delegation platform was positioned at the same level as the great powers of the galaxy. Admiral Kethavar stood to address the chamber, his wounds still healing, but his voice strong. The Vryn Dominion formally apologizes to Commander Harper and the people of Earth for our previous disrespect. We mocked vessels we did not understand, wielded by warriors we had never tested. We were fools. Other delegates rose to echo the sentiment. The Zeltharan Collective, the Mechanist Sovereignty, the Luminar Alliance. One by one, the powers that had laughed at Earth's primitive fleet acknowledged their error. The acting commander of the Earth Defense Fleet, Major Torres, now promoted to commander, stood in what had been Harper's place. His face was somber as he accepted the apologies. Commander Harper and the crew of the Thunderchild gave their lives to save this galaxy, Torres said. They proved that advanced technology means nothing without the will to use it. They showed that sometimes the old ways, the hard ways, are still the best ways. He paused, looking around the chamber. Earth will rebuild its fleet. We welcome cooperation with all of you, but let me be clear. We will rebuild in our own way, with our steel hulls and kinetic weapons, with our redundant systems and our stubborn crews. Because while you were building beautiful ships, we were building ships that win. On the view screen behind him, images appeared of new human warships under construction. They were larger than the Thunderchild, more heavily armed, incorporating some alien technology but built on human principles. They looked as brutal and functional as ever, and now, other civilizations were sending representatives to Earth shipyards, asking to learn how humans built vessels that could take catastrophic damage and keep fighting. Final words, in orbit around Earth. A new monument floated, a memorial constructed from salvaged pieces of the Thunderchild and the other lost vessels. Thousands of names were inscribed on its surface, those who had died defending not just humanity, but all civilized species. Commander Torres visited the memorial in a small shuttle, floating in silence before the twisted metal that had once been his home. He activated his communicator and spoke words that would be recorded for history. They laughed at our old ships. They said we were primitive, that our technology was obsolete. Maybe they were right. But they forgot something important. It's not the ship that matters. It's the people inside it. It's the determination to stand and fight when retreat would be easier. It's the willingness to sacrifice everything for something bigger than yourself. He looked at the names scrolling past on the memorial's surface, each one representing a life given in service. We'll build new ships now, better ships, stronger ships, but we'll never forget the lessons learned aboard these old vessels. We'll never forget that sometimes the loudest thunder comes from the oldest storms. Torres saluted the memorial and turned his shuttle back toward Earth. Below, the planet rotated peacefully, protected by a fleet that would never again be mocked. Because the galaxy had learned a simple truth. Never laugh at ships built by a species that learned warfare before they learned spaceflight. Never underestimate warriors who choose function over beauty, effectiveness over elegance. And never ever assume that just because something is old, it cannot still bare its teeth and roar with thunder. The steel remembered, and so would the galaxy.